Welcome to episode number 12 of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames. And guys, if you're really loving the content or loving the guests that we're getting on our show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the bottom right of the screen now. Or, if you're loving it, share it out with your friends or like or comment on some of the content we've got below. On the show today, guys, we've got Eddie Pinero. Eddie is the founder of a YouTube channel called Your World Within, which has 400,000 clicks or people go through his site every single month. He has had over 10 million views on his site and shares amazing and inspirational content which has impacted the lives of millions of people worldwide. Eddie shares some incredible content on the show today, which is really going to help you out with your career and to build a following on social media. So guys, be sure to tune in and let's get started on the interview. Guys, welcome to episode number 12 of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames. And on the show today, I've got an incredible and inspiring guest called Eddie Pinero. Eddie is the founder of Your World Within, which is a YouTube channel and his amazing business that has millions of views worldwide. He is also an international speaker and an entrepreneur as well. And his articles, his videos, and his speeches have impacted the lives of millions of people around the globe. Eddie is such an inspiring guy, and I'm so happy to have him on the show, and I'm so proud to have him on. Eddie, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. If you could just give the audience a bit of a background about basically where you've come from and what your career was like growing up for you, or what sort of influences you had growing up in your career.
Yeah, sure. And first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My career sort of started after college. I went into the insurance industry where I was essentially developing course curriculums, creating training for different people throughout the organization, and got to the point, a lot of people do, where I realized that it's sort of my creativity was kind of compressed a little bit, and I wanted to try something new and do something a little bit more expressive. And so that was sort of the turning point where I left and didn't even really have much direction at that point. I just wanted to create, and I started writing articles. I started putting videos up online. I started producing music, and just all over the place, and took a step back and thought, there's a way to kind of combine these things I love to do, combine the creativity with the business, and that's where kind of the platform of Your World Within came about. So.
Wow, man, that's awesome. And I think, as I said, you should be proud of yourself, because I can totally relate to that. That's why I started my career counseling business. I never had any guidance or direction. So you kind of have to really sit and think what you love doing and really try and, make that work and get an impact from doing that. So kudos to you, man. That's awesome.
Thanks, bud.
So, man, I'd love to know, obviously, you said you used to work in the insurance industry and that, but what would you say would be some of the biggest career takeaways or the biggest things that you've gained from doing that career in the insurance industry?
One of the things that it didn't happen right away. It took some time, but one of the most pivotal things was just that people are people, meaning that, you need to show them value. They need to feel valued when you have a conversation, whether you're pitching or selling or even having a discussion. It needs to at least enter your brain the question of what's their perspective? What are they thinking? What's their point of view? Yeah. And that was huge. That was huge because it enables relationships to build, and people make the world go round, man. And that was the environment where I really learned that. It hit home. And it was like, your network is everything. It's going to lift you up or not. And that lift can be huge. So, that was probably my biggest takeaway in that environment.
Yeah, that's perfect, man. Thanks for sharing that. And I can completely relate, because that's probably the best thing that's helped me. I know myself, that's my biggest strength is, building effective, genuine relationships with people. So, it's such a big takeaway that a lot of people could really develop their skills in their career and help build up communication and building rapport with people. So that's a great takeaway, man.
Absolutely.
So, Eddie, what would you say are some of the biggest mental roadblocks or obstacles you've had to face, whether that be in your career or transitioning into your business? What would be some of the biggest and toughest things you've had to overcome, and how have you overcame them?
A big one for me, I think right at the point where, I sort of transitioned into the new business and was taking on the identity of an entrepreneur and kind of putting myself out there. The idea of perfection for me, especially when it gets to the point where you hit submit and your creativity is going to reach X thousand people. At that point, there's hesitancy, right? I mean, for obvious reasons. And so that was a roadblock for a while. To be able to say, look, worst comes to worst, you know, you put out your video or your article or your book or your speech or whatever, and you learn from it, and you put it out again, and you analyze and you learn and you put it out again, and that's how you grow. And you hear that all the time, but until you're there, until you're doing it, it doesn't really hit home. So that was huge for me, and it opened the door for creativity.
That's perfect, man. And that's one of the biggest things one of my mentors always said to me, because I'm quite a perfectionist as well, where I always look at things and go, it's not good enough. And his biggest thing is, Paul, you need to go for progress, not perfection. So keep moving forward and you learn like exactly what you said. So that's great advice, guys. Really take notice of what Eddie just said there. So yeah, that's awesome, man. Sorry, mate. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to kind of cap it off. I mean, it really, when you realize that you don't have to follow sort of that narrow line, it opens the door to be more creative and take more risks and do the things that ultimately give you the biggest reward. So just kind of emphasizing what you said.
Definitely, man. I was going to say, so what would you say would be the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to in your business or with your world within? Obviously, I've had a good look through it, and it's such an amazing channel. The videos are so well made. There's such great content too that can really impact and change people's lives. So what would be the most exciting thing that you're really looking forward to in the future or at present in your business?
Yeah, hey, I really appreciate that, Paul. So the channel is always the biggest priority, and that's what I'm most excited about, is really pushing the boundaries there. I'm working with some videographers and producers to kind of expand and try new things and get out there in different ways. That sort of always gets the gears going a little bit. Yep. But then at the same time, kind of the other things too that streamline from that, like putting out an apparel, some running shirts, some running gear, which has been totally new and a blast, and I almost have the designs done for that. Working on some ebooks where I'm taking the speeches and the compilations and putting it together in one kind of easy to access resource, and just a lot of fun stuff coming around the corner that I'm really, really enjoying and looking forward to.
Wow, man, that's awesome with the apparel line as well. I think that'd be such a rewarding thing to, create something like, obviously you've got quite a creative flair as shown through your videos and what you do. So it's good that you really know what your biggest strength is, and being able to get that out to the world and something you're so passionate about is amazing, man.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been fun. We'll see how it goes.
Perfect, man. So what would you say would be 3 to 5 actionable tips? Obviously, a lot of my audience is mainly professionals who are quite miserable in their job. They're either looking to, find something else that they're really passionate about, or they're looking to progress in their career, but just not sure how. So what would you say would be 3 to 5 actionable tips or things that you've learned that have really helped you either in your career or with your business, or something that could transfer over?
So the first, and it's kind of what I touched on previously, but it just shows how much I think about or feel about that is the mentor thing. No matter what you're doing, what stage you're in, what your goal is, someone's done it, and someone's done it well. That doesn't mean you can't do it better, you can't expand, and you can't innovate, but there's always something to be gained or learned. And in building those relationships, again, reaching out to people that can help you get there faster is huge. And I've said a few times that a simple way to do this, to make it actionable or tangible, is, when you're sitting down maybe after dinner or you're putting your feet up to watch 15 minutes of baseball or football or whatever, just email 3 to 5 people in your field. Just say, hey, look, I'm new at this. I like what you do. I want to, I'd love to learn from you or hear any advice. Maybe put a little better than that, but, a lot of the time you don't hear back. When you do, it's such a tremendous boost. So that's definitely one of them.
Yep, definitely. I love that, man, too, because that's the biggest one that I can take away and tell my audience that it actually really works. The effort you put in with building relationships and reaching out to people really does pay off, as, proven with my show. Only 7 episodes I managed to get Grant Cardone and, some other incredible entrepreneurs like yourself on my show, just from being persistent and reaching out to people, not giving up when, you don't get a response from someone. So that's a great tip. Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up. Routine is another one, where, I'm a morning person. I know some people aren't. So I don't think that matters or it needs to fall that way. But for me, getting up early, working out, doing my emails or social media, whatever, maybe taking care of the biggest project I have that day, so that when 11 p.m. rolls around and you're looking back and you're you have a track record of success already. You identify as a winner, because that mental state is huge for kind of carrying on throughout the day and building momentum throughout the week and month and so on. So that's another one.
Definitely, man. That's awesome. That's a really good tip. Perfect, man. Is there anything else that you feel like that you would love to implement or action that has really helped you along or build the success you've got as well?
I'm trying to think. I guess simplification has been huge too.
Okay, cool.
In terms of knowing what you want and mitigating everything else. And that's, I could give you a million examples. For me, YouTube's one of them. Yeah. Because as you know, it's so easy to go down a rat hole on YouTube, right? I mean, that's where I do a lot of my analysis and look at my videos and see, trajectory and see how things are going. But you can also waste 3 hours looking at garbage.
Exactly.
Being able to understand what you want and really constantly remind yourself to remove everything else. Asking yourself the question, how is what I'm doing now relating to goal? So throw that in there as well.
That's perfect, man. And I think it's so easy to get distracted. Like you just really need to focus.
Definitely.
So Eddie, I've got a bit of a random question, and I like to ask my audience. Obviously, coming from a counselling background, I utilize solution-focused therapy, and there's a question there which is called the miracle question. So imagine if you went to sleep tonight, and overnight a miracle occurred. When you woke up, all your financial burdens or mental roadblocks or anything that you feel that was stopping you is gone, and you've achieved, and you can impact anything you really want in the world or change anything you really want in the world. What will that be to you, and why would that be so important to you?
I think sleep would be my answer to that. Meaning, when you think about it, when you think about how short life is and how much time we would lying down with our eyes closed, it's kind of sickening in its own way. So if I could do that, like some superpower or something like that, I would completely remove the need to sleep so that I could do more in the time that I have. I was talking to a friend recently who, she's very successful and says she only operates on 4 hours of sleep a night, which if I don't get 5 or 6,
me too, man.
That actually got me thinking about that recently, but yeah.
Oh, perfect, man. Yeah, and I think you realize when you have a baby, like I've obviously got a 1-year-old, and when you don't get that sleep and you are surviving off 4 hours, you kind of go, I can do this. Like I don't feel the best, but you can still function. And I think a lot of people don't realize how precious time is and how you should aim for doing the things you really want to achieve in life, because things can change in an instant. So time, that's a great response. I think, if we didn't have to sleep, that would make a huge impact on the world and what we could achieve. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, sure thing.
What would be the best career advice that you'd say you'd ever received in your life, Eddie?
Best career advice. A quote from one of my coaches. So at the time, it wasn't career advice. At the time, I was a freshman in college, and I was on the rowing team. And my freshman coach said, sometimes, he would say this repeatedly. He would say, sometimes success is simply hanging on when others would be letting go. And he was talking about it in the context of, you're racing. It's the last 1,000 meters or 500 meters of a race, and, everything hurts and you want to give in. And that's how I looked at it. And then, as time went on and I started kind of going down the entrepreneurial path and doing some of these things, as I'm sure you know, there are peaks and there are valleys, and the peaks are phenomenal and the valleys are every bit as brutal. So being able to understand that, look, this is par for the course. This is not a reflection of you. It's something that happens and you're going to get through it, and you always do. Because that's what a lot of people do. They give up and they walk away and they say it's not for them. It's just the downs are par for the course. So that really understanding that and having that mindset is huge, especially starting out, because you don't get validation right away. Right.
Wow. So that's perfect. That's really good advice, guys. Go back and have a listen to that as well. And it's so true what Eddie said. The power of mindset. Your mindset, either makes or breaks you. Like, you can't let it crush you. And I relate to myself. I was quite a shy person. I was always kind of told growing up that I wasn't good enough. I wouldn't be able to do this, wouldn't be able to do that. So, I've had to overcome my share of difficulties as well. And for those people out there who don't believe in themselves, so they got a lot of self-doubt, realize that your potential is unlimited. Nobody really knows what we're capable of. So give things a shot and persist in them and see what happens. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Eddie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel like you found your why in life? Like, obviously, we all like to find our passion or something that really lights us up inside. And I can hear it in you that, yeah, you do absolutely love what you're doing. So do you feel like what you're currently doing is your why and your passion and your purpose in life?
I do. I struggle with this question a little bit because it's like I enjoy creating. I really like putting myself out there in different ways. And so my why, like my perfect existence is to be able to 10 years from now have the resources to say, you know what, I'm going to scrap everything. I'm going to write a novel. 15 years from now to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to travel the world and, vlog it with my iPhone, whatever the case is. So to be able to have that creative flexibility and completely remove myself from kind of the limitations that we think exist that don't. So that's really a big piece. And then the other piece is, through that same creativity, kind of helping other people see that they can do the same. And should and are obligated to do the same, follow what they love and do what they love because there's opportunity to do that. So
exactly, man. That's awesome. That's really good, man. So, Eddie, I'd love to know, like, obviously patterns and behaviors. I know we touched on a bit on what you do in your mornings, when you first wake up, and I think that's so crucial. So I'd love to know, what are some of your biggest patterns and behaviors or your habits that have really benefited you and helped you achieve the success that you've got? And also, what would be one of the biggest ones that you found is hindering you or really stop you progressing to that level where you want to get to?
Okay. I would say my biggest habit that's helped me or pattern that's helped me is running. To me, it's almost a therapy. I mean, obviously it's a form of exercise, but especially kind of the slower, longer runs are when I come up with a lot of my ideas. I can be methodical. I can rethink things and kind of get things in order. It's just like the perfect atmosphere to get things in order. So doing that consistently has been huge because I can't state how many times I've come back and been like, awesome, just had an epiphany, have to write this down, have to do this, have to do this. And so it's been a great outlet that's helped me do that.
Definitely, and I can agree with that completely. Like, I've found that I've always done Muay Thai kickboxing for 11 years, and that's like the biggest thing that it really clears your head when you're having a really shitty day or really stressful, or everything feels like it's on top of you. Doing this exercise or this other thing, this side passion that you love, really just focuses you and find it really balances you out. So yeah, I think exercise is one of the things, like healthy mind, healthy body, they say, and I completely agree.
Absolutely. Is that a new thing, or have you been doing that for a while?
For 11 years.
That is so cool, man.
I love it. Yeah, I had a bit of a break with the kids, obviously, but yeah, I want to get back into it just because it's, as I said, yeah, guys, it's such an amazing thing just doing exercise. I think everything should just complement each other. So healthy mind, healthy body for sure. So Eddie,
Yeah.
what would you say would be probably one of your most hindering habits or behaviors that, you find really distract you? I know we've talked about, YouTube and looking through and spending time on there. Is there anything else you feel like would really hinder you in stopping you getting where you want to get to?
I think another thing, it's sort of along the same lines, like you mentioned, but it's spending time over analyzing. I think there's a happy medium. I think when you're going into something, you don't want to do it blind, but for example, I bought a wallet last week and spent like an hour and a half researching wallets. I mean, stuff like that is just, and obviously that transcends to other things as well. So, something that I'm really trying to work on is to be more efficient in those decisions. Ultimately it's a yes or no. You want to be as informed as you need to be, but not any more, or not any less. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the same concept as the sleep thing, right? I mean, time is money and time is value. So.
Yeah, so true. That's a great one there. And I'm sure a lot of us are guilty of that, over analyzing things, and overthinking can, really get us into trouble. Obviously you want to take, especially with business and career decisions, I think you want to, take a kind of calculated risk and give things a bit of a shot. Otherwise, if you overthink things, you're just going to shut yourself down, or your ego is going to go, you're not meant to do this. It's too hard. Stay comfortable. Stay here. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty important thing to be doing. So, so Eddie, I know I'm a massive reader, and I'm sure you are, obviously, with the amount of content and the amazing things you put out. So what would be your most incredible book or tool or resource or app or something that's really helped you and helps you on a daily basis with your business?
You know what's helped me a lot, and this has been sort of a recent thing over the past year. I've really started reading a lot of evolutionary psych. And at first glance, like, it doesn't seem like there's a huge correlation between that and a business. But when you look at and have an understanding of why we think the way we do, why we're emotional in certain contexts, how we evolved to be who we are, and you look at that in modern day times, there's a lot of situations where I'm like, why am I doing this? And it helps you understand the reason, the rationale behind your decisions and your behavior, and you can change it, you can modify it. So I've noticed that more and more, like, a lot of the things that I'm changing, a lot of the things I'm doing are because I understand why I'm doing it, and getting to the root cause of who we are and why we act the way we act has been extremely helpful. So, I mean, if anything, I would advocate checking it out. It's interesting stuff. But yeah, any introductory book. I mean, David Buss has a really good introductory evolutionary psych book. But it's cool stuff. And again, I find it tremendously helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always been really interested in human psych and, you know, how people work and stuff like that. I think if I ever wasn't a career counselor, I'd definitely be doing something with psychology or, you know, understanding people better. I think it's such an important thing to, you know, understand the reasons why we make decisions or why we do the things we do, and, you know, what's the real root cause of it, like you said. So yeah, that's great advice there. So anyone looking to, you know, want to delve deeper into themselves, get on board with that book, and I'll share the link in the show notes to it. So Eddie, we're getting ready to wrap up, and I just really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate your time, and as I said, I'm so proud of you and really respect what you're doing. It's such an amazing thing, and you're obviously impacting millions of lives, which is what all of us love, really want to do as being entrepreneurs or, you know, coaches or in this sort of field. So yeah, massive congratulations on what you're doing, man.
Likewise, Paul, and thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate this. It's been blessed.
It was pretty funny. I got connected with you so I reached out to Peter Voogd, and I think I can't remember the name of the guy, but he emailed me back, one of his, I think he's his lawyer or something like that, and yeah, he said you should connect with Eddie. Eddie's doing this, and I was like, man, that's incredible. So, and I thought I'd love to have you on my show. So yeah, it's funny how, you know, one thing leads to another, and you get in contact with amazing people like yourself. So.
Absolutely.
So Eddie, just as I said, getting ready to wrap up, but is there any parting advice that you think that you would love to share, or anything that's really benefited you, or something you could share that really helped my audience out in their career especially?
You know, this is pretty high level. It'd probably be a good way to wrap things up is just to always know that if there's something you want, there is a solution, which I granted sounds cliche, sounds a little corny, but there's so many times when there's obstacles or problems or things that we want, whether it's career oriented, you know, anything. And we ask ourselves, can we do this? And a lot of the times say no and move away. If you automatically default to saying yes all the time, 100%, what you'll start focusing on is how am I going to get there? Your mind always automatically goes to how. And it really does make a difference in terms of outcomes, in terms of how you approach life. You get things done because you know there's a way. So again, I know that's very high level, but another mindset approach that's helped me a lot. So I want to share that.
That's powerful, guys. Really go back and listen to that. That's a game changer right there. And if you can just sit and focus on that, and I think it takes something like 2 weeks to change a pattern or behavior. So I know myself, I've gone through John Assaraf's program, you know, and his stuff's, you know, incredible. You listen to it at night, and it starts to reprogram your thoughts and how you start thinking. And the more you start viewing things in a different way, like Eddie said, the more changes and the biggest mindset shifts will come out of your life and make massive impact in your life. So that's really powerful, Eddie. Thank you so much for sharing that parting advice. So Eddie, I'd also love to know, how can my audience best get in contact with you? I know you're pretty active on YouTube, obviously, but what's some of the ways that people can get in contact if they want to reach out to you?
So, you know, YouTube is a great way to do that. Also, my website, yourworldwithin.com, is great too. My email is all on there. Yeah. all the social networks and stuff. I won't list each one, but I'm everywhere.
I'll share all those out in the show notes for you. And guys, I'm so happy to have Eddie on the show. He's shared some incredible gold, incredible content, and I hope that's really helped you out with your life. Eddie, thank you again for sharing your valuable time with us, and I really appreciate everything you've shared with us today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So guys, stay tuned next week where we share with you another incredible entrepreneur or the game changer or expert in the field. And we're really going to help you get to really where you want to be in your career. So stay tuned then, guys. Thanks a lot. If you really loved what Eddie shared with us in today's episode, be sure to check out his YouTube channel, which is called Your World Within, or head to the link below, which is in the show notes, which is bit.ly/world within. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for today's episode, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like it, share it, or comment on anything you find interesting. Guys, I can't wait to share another amazing episode with you next week, so stay tuned then.